Hi guys, welcome to our channel. Today we are discussing a movie that continues the first part of this exciting action. Now the farmers have to fight for survival in front of the tyrants of the mother world, and they have no choice but to confront them. They are lucky to have the warrior rebels on their side, and they all want to unite against oppression. Check the title of the movie in the description. On the Veldt moon, far away from the mother world, there was a village, a group of unassuming farmers whose livelihood was made from agricultural land. Until a warship shadowed their lands. On behalf of Motherworld, Admiral Atticus Noble forced them to give up a large amount of wheat. Cora and Gunnar left the village to unite the rebels against the dreadnought. General Titus, Tarek, Nemesis, and Milius were warriors who came to Veldt village to defend the farmers after Noble's defeat. The warriors are greeted warmly by Den and Hagen, and Sam sneaks a look at them and immediately informs Eris, a guard who has joined the locals, of their presence. Jimmy, the former robot soldier of the Empire who stayed in the village, stares at the rebels' arrival, and hope is seen in him. As they prepare food and drink for the tired fighters, Cora is surprised that the locals are not there and asks why. Den explains that the people are scared after their former leader is killed, and the events surrounding his loss, but she sees no reason to be scared because they managed to kill Noble. She insists that it is no longer a threat to the village, so they don't believe that Noble has been killed. At the same time, it seems that he is still alive after the defeat in the previous confrontation, and the doctors release him from the cocoon, but they believe that he is not yet ready and physically fit to lead. However, he informs his special agent Cassius that Cora is in the Veldt, and asks him to steer the dreadnought there. He calls Eris, their only soldier in the village, and informs him that they will arrive there in 5 days. Since he is now united with the locals, he will not reveal the truth about the death of his comrades there and tries to make it look normal. Then, together with Sam, he immediately shares this with Cora and her group. They doubt that Noble may not be dead yet. With a heartwarming speech, Titus calls the villagers and unites them to win this battle, but before he teaches them the fighting techniques, he asks them to complete the harvest within the next 3 days. They think this is insufficient time, but Titus warns they must work hard starting tomorrow. Talking to Cora, Gunnar says that he didn't think he would see himself in war and surviving it. However, he admits that he is more afraid of losing her than the war, and then they kiss in a dreamy moment. She admits that when she was a member of the Imperial Army of Mother World, her godfather was Belisarius, who conspired to kill the king and queen. He secretly put them to death with his allies and asked her to kill Princess Isa. Cora hesitated to kill her but was still pressured by him to kill the princess.
Kill her!
I forgive you.
After the death of the princess, Belisarius cheats on his adopted daughter to make her guilty and calls her an alien, which is the reason why Cora runs away from them and leaves the mother world forever. She got into a shuttle and after flying for a while, she crashed into the village. Tomorrow morning, the rebels and the locals will start harvesting with strength so that there is indescribable unity and hope among them. In Dreadnought, despite Noble's lack of preparation, he insists that the doctors disconnect him from the neural graft before performing physical tests, and their refusal causes one of them to become a victim. With the support of Cassius, he prepares to take the helm and is determined to get his revenge on Cora and the scar she left on his chest. Nemesis, who has special feelings for children due to the loss of her children in the past, is attracted by a boy to play a prank on her, and Cora, on the other hand, sees Titus filling his drink bottle with water instead of wine, and she is surprises. Cassius once again communicates with a group of soldiers who represent them in the village, and again, Iris responds with appropriate behavior so that they do not doubt him. However, Noble knows very well that he is lying, and that the other commanders have been killed, and he does not doubt that he is now considered a traitor. That night, the people celebrate the unity that has come into existence, and Sam gives them gifts to honor the fighters and considers each of them a blessing to save the village. After that, the party ends with an epic and sweet song from Titus, and Jimmy continues to look at them from afar and think about the future. Then, he lies down and stares at the sky. The next morning, Titus calls them by ringing the village bell and orders them to move all the grain into the village to prevent Noble from attacking them and shooting from the circuit towards the village. They provide ammunition and all the village's weapons and try to plan for defense by digging trenches. Civilians learn fighting and shooting techniques and prepare themselves for war. Hagen orders that the only shuttle in the village, which is left from the fall of Cora, be pulled out from the heart of the surrounding mountains to use it in the war at the right time, while Jimmy watches their struggle for survival. Cora, whose ship still looks healthy, shows off by flying in the sky and inspires the admiration of her comrades. At night, Titus announces that they must sincerely share the truth of their past before confronting enemies, starting with himself. He explains that in the past, Commander Belisarius asked him to stand in front of his people, who chose freedom instead of ruling the mother world independently. Still, he did not do this. Titus begged Belisarius to have mercy on his people. But he mercilessly bombed his men in front of his eyes to punish Titus, and he could never forgive himself and considers himself responsible for the death of his men. After him, Milius reveals his past, when his people were forced to work for the Mother World Army, and many women, children, and old people were killed. Until the Blood Axes, led by Darian, came to their rescue. She found a new family and purpose. After her, Nemesis reveals that the Mother World Army brutally burned their village and that she lost her children. To connect with her ancestors, she cut off her hands and used gloves, which were the only legacy of her ancestors' bloodlust, and her only goal from that day forward was revenge. Unlike them, Tarek was the son of a king and a queen. His father had gone to negotiate with the Mother World Army, but they killed him and said they would attack the city. While the enemy ships were destroying the city by flying in the sky, he planned to stay and defend his mother, but she committed suicide, and Tarek had to leave the city secretly, with great sadness. After that, Cora admits that she never had a family and that the story she's telling doesn't seem true, so Titus asks if she has anything else to say, but she refuses to tell the truth about killing the princess. Titus shares with them his plans for tomorrow's battle against the Dreadnought, and asks Cora to hide the ship to be ready for tomorrow's battle. She places the ship behind a waterfall. Suddenly, Jimmy appears behind and scares her. Cora calls him James, a name he believes was called by his mechanical officers in the past during battle. Jimmy knows this name as a reminder of the time he served the king. However, he regrets that he could not save Princess Asa. Cora knows him as the soldier who was condemned to fight for them, and fighting together against them is a nightmare for them, and she believes that this fight is to defend what they love.
You must know you cannot win.
The next day, while the locals prepare themselves for battle, Dreadnought appears in the skies of the veldt, so now they must finish their half-baked actions as soon as possible. Noble examines their defensive formation, realizes that placing wheat in front of houses is not a simple farmer's initiative, and ensures that General Titus leads them. He prioritizes negotiations so they do not enter a full-scale war as much as possible. Still, he orders a group of ships to be deployed around the village along with several tanks. Cora seems to be planning to cut her hair. Moments later, the ships move towards the village and Atticus Noble lands in front of the village with the support of many ships and tanks. Unlike before, he is not greeted by the villagers, and only Cora and Gunnar are there. Cora comes forward and threatens to kill him, but Noble shows the scar he took from her and claims that he knows all their plans. She offers to take the grain with him and leave the village without harming the residents, but he is not satisfied and considers it a failure that does nothing. This time, Noble offers her. He will accept the grain and not harm the villagers if she surrenders herself. He says despite the other rebels' value for the Viceroy, Belisarius seriously insists on meeting his adopted daughter. While an army of enemies is near one of the shelters in the villa, Cora has to choose, decides to surrender, and asks Hagen not to ring the bell. She hugs Gunnar goodbye and says she won't let the village be destroyed because of her, not knowing that Gunnar stole her weapon. The main ship explodes with a big shot when the battle bell rings. Cora and Gunnar climb the rocks to get to the ship. While Noble enters one of the trenches with great anger, Den destroys another of the enemy's main ships by standing, and after that, a full-scale war between the locals and the army of the Mother World takes place in every part of the village. Noble decides to escape with the only remaining ship, but Den stops him and intends to kill him, but he is unable to deal with his power, and unfortunately, he brutally cuts his throat and throws him down. Cora and Gunnar get out of the hiding place on the ship, and since she is familiar with their protocols, she uses a trick and smokes the ship to pass herself off as a dreadnought force and infiltrate the ship. She shows that the ship is damaged and reports that they were injured. On the battlefield, the villagers bravely fight for survival and try to save the village. After killing a large number of enemy soldiers, Nemesis unfortunately faces the fatal blow of their commander. The boy goes to save her and plunges the sword into his side, but he also catches him. At this moment, Nemesis gives him the last blow, and he is killed. The boy goes to Nemesis's arms with crying eyes and fulfills her wish of holding a child before her death. Titus and Tarek relentlessly advance as the leaders of the people in the fight against the aggressors and fight hard until they destroy all the enemies. They are happy, but it is short-lived. Because another battle tank is approaching with an army of enemies, they have to keep going. Cora and Gunnar penetrate the heart of the dreadnought with the mask. They manage to kill several enemies in the first fight. Gunnar must prepare the ship, and Cora is responsible for its destruction, so they part with a kiss. She hides from the military and manages to reach the ship's control center, where she plans to shoot down the dreadnought by setting off explosive bombs. On the battlefield, people continue to fight with all their strength. In the meantime, Milius finds the weapon it failed to fire and manages to reach it. She bravely shoots down the second enemy tank and keeps the hopes alive to overcome the enemy. Cora kills one of the guards after planting the bombs. Soon, the people on the dreadnought realize that an intruder has broken in and report it to the higher-ups. As soon as Noble is informed, he realizes it is none other than Cora, so he seizes this opportunity and immediately orders the ship to be searched to find her. While Titus and his men are still hoping for victory, they suddenly see another deadly tank approaching from a distance, and even though they accept defeat, they all swear to fight to the death for their goal. Moments later, to their surprise, Jimmy comes to their aid. He is a soldier who is very powerful against the shots, so with this unique feature, he shows his abilities against the attackers. With a good combat performance, he succeeds in overturning the third enemy tank by throwing a grenade into it and brought hope back to the rebels. On the other side, Gunnar prepares the ship for departure and waits for Cora while she continues to fight her way out. In disbelief, Noble orders an attack on the village. Cassius tries to dissuade him because with the village's destruction, all the grains will be destroyed. However, his advice is to no avail, and Noble is serious about targeting the village, so he orders the attack orders. Artillery is being moved and concentrated to fire in the village, and Cora, by eliminating the military units, reaches the elevator that is the way out. She knows she has a difficult time ahead, so she tightly ties her sword in her hands and is ready for a full-scale fight. At the last point, she sees Noble in front of her, who threatens her, and Gunnar hears their voices and watches them from behind. At the same time, the artillery is focused on the village to fire, and as soon as they are fired, the bombs she installed explode. The shot goes wrong, and part of the spacecraft is seriously damaged. Having won the battle, Titus stares at the sky and knows the explosion results from Cora's efforts. Gunnar is shot after he tries for her rescue, and a fight begins between Cora and Noble. The dreadnought is on the threshold of capsize, and Cora faces a significant challenge, while fighting him on the slope. Noble is on the verge of falling but saves himself, and with great fury, the fight reaches its peak again until she loses her sword on a steep slope. Noble's punch knocks her out, and her attempt to fight back is futile. He is choking her and tells her to open her eyes when suddenly Gunnar plunges a sword into his body from behind, and Cora finishes him off with a final blow. Massive explosions destroy the dreadnought, and the villagers and rebels stare as it capsizes. In the meantime, Cora, by guiding the ship, makes the last effort to get them out of this destruction. Fortunately, they manage to save themselves from heavy objects and fires, but the ship was damaged and she had to make an emergency landing. She barely pulls Gunnar out of there, but his damage seems deeper than meets the eye. Gunnar admits that he knows who she is but still loves her and tells her that you succeeded. At this moment, Devra Bloodaxe and her army arrive and destroy the few remaining ships that are attacking. A hearty victory is achieved, and the villagers cheer, but Cora loses her love in this battle. That night, Hagen gives an impressive and epic speech in memory of all those killed in this war and emphasizes that their memory will not be forgotten. Cora tearfully admits that she is a liar. She reveals that she, Artelius, is the adopted daughter of Belisarius and that she was the one who killed the princess. Titus already knew all this and was surprised to say the princess was not dead. She doesn't die that easily because she is beyond death. He encourages Cora with her new goal, which is to fight and find the princess, and then all the warrior rebels pledge allegiance to her one by one, help her on this path, and fight by her side. She hugs Titus. Jimmy appears and says that if the princess is alive and their goal is to find her, he has no choice but to fight alongside them. The movie ends with Cora's new goal. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.